Hello, everybody. Dave Beavers here with Giant Slayer Consulting, and we're back for week number 10 of the 21 Laws of Leadership, the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. Now, so far, we've covered 9 laws. Last week, we talked about the law of magnetism. This week, we're going to talk about the law of connection. Now, we're still waiting on my friend and cohort and partner in crime, whatever you want to call him, Bill Kraft. He's been with me doing these each week, and he's running a little bit behind. But we're going ahead and get started. So bear with me as I work through some of this technology. Now, hopefully, you can see on your screen what we've studied so far, the 9 laws so far, and let's just kind of briefly cover those so you can kind of see where we're at going into the law of connection. And we talked about the law of the lid. We talked about how your leadership is like a lid on your ceiling, or the ceiling in your organization. Now, let me explain that just a little bit. We can be a good manager, but if we're not good leaders and we're not developing and growing people, then that inability kind of stops the whole team, stops the whole organization. And the law number 2 was really what John Maxwell's his teaching is really all about. What is leadership? Well, the leadership is influence. So law 2 is the law of influence. Leadership is simply about influencing people. Nothing more, nothing less. Now, we can be a position and have a title of leadership, but if people aren't following us, then we're not really leading them. We're just managing them. Then we talked about law number 3, the law of process, and about how leadership is developed daily, not in a day. We just don't arrive and become a great leader. We can have leadership talent and ability and an inclination, but that doesn't automatically make us a great leader. We have to learn and grow each day. Law number 4 is the law of navigation, which says that anyone can steer the ship, but it takes a leader to chart the course. Now, you can be a great manager, and you can manage a system, and you can manage people, but it takes a leader to look ahead and see where the team and the organization needs to go for the future, what obstacles to avoid, what pitfalls to hopefully miss, and what opportunities to seize in the future. Law number 5 is the law of addition. What this law states is that leaders add value by serving others. So real leadership is not about being the boss. It's about how many people can you serve and how well can you serve them? How can you lift them up and help them become more than they are and achieve more than what they're doing? Law number 6 is the law of solid ground, which is really says that trust is the foundation of leadership. And without trust, what do we really have? We can like someone. We can even admire somebody. But if we can't trust them, how well can we follow them? And how much influence do we want them to have in our lives when leading us? Law number 7 is the law of respect. And this law says that people naturally follow leaders stronger than themselves. And you can get a group of people together and give them a project. And eventually, you'll see a leader emerge in there, and people will naturally begin to follow that leader because of that leader's strengths and inclination to lead. And law number 8 is the law of intuition. And this says that leaders evaluate everything with a leadership bias. So a real leader can evaluate a group, a system, and kind of get some intuition about what needs to happen, what needs to change, what direction they need to go. And finally, last week we talked about the law of magnetism, which is akin to the law of attraction, which says that you are who you attract. Not what you want, but who you are is who you're attracting into your life and what you're attracting into your life. So this week we're going to talk about the law of connection. And remember, in John's teaching, we learn it in 3 phases. We learn about the law, we live the law, and then we lead others to the law. And that's how we multiply leadership. So to connect with others and learning about the law of influence of connection, we have to learn that we have to connect with ourselves first. How are we going to connect with anybody else if we really don't truly know our own strengths and weaknesses? We have to ask ourselves some questions. So ask yourself this: do you believe that you're worthy of being a person who can connect? Do you believe you're capable? Do you believe that you are deserving? And do you truly trust yourself? Now, if you can't answer yes to those questions, you're going to have trouble connecting with other people. Because remember the law of attraction, the law of magnetism. We attract who we are. And so if we want to lift and build people and let them know that they are worthy, help them believe that they are capable, and help them believe that they are deserving of success and that people will trust them, We have to be that for ourselves. So we have to start with ourselves first. Leadership is always about how well we lead ourselves before we try to influence others. Now let's move on just a second now to for a few seconds for living the law of connection, and let's talk about it a little bit. John says in his thesis of this chapter, he says we have to touch a heart before asking for a hand. Now I want to slow down just a little bit right here and talk about it. And Bill's just arrived. Thank goodness he's going to help me out a little bit here. So welcome, Bill Kraft. He's been with me through a lot of this teaching. He's helped me in so many different seminars and training sessions, and we'll get him scooted over so you can see him. He's been busy and running and hustling around, trying to connect, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, all right. So, Bill, so far we've kind of reviewed the last 9 laws, and we talked a little bit about learning the law of connection. We talked about how that we have to learn to connect with ourselves. And I'll back it up just a little bit here and just kind of just a quick review for Bill's sake. But we have to ask ourselves some questions. Do we believe that we're worthy? Do we believe that we're capable? Do we believe that we're deserving? And do we truly trust ourselves? And if we can't answer those things yes for ourselves, then we're going to have a hard time connecting with other people, because it's going to take having faith in other people. Excuse me, got this old head cold this week, and just finally getting cleared up a little bit so I can talk a little bit. So I was hoping we could get this done today. All right, so now we're going to talk about a little bit about living the law of connection, and I explained that we have to touch a heart before asking for a hand. And so many times we might have a great idea, a great project, something that will really help people, and we want people to jump on board and help us because it's such a great idea, and we think everybody should jump on board. But why do you think we struggle sometimes getting people to buy into our ideas and plans?
Because people really need to follow us, not our vision.
Mm-hmm.
And if we just plant our vision and don't reach out to them and ask them to follow that vision rather than following another person, they're not going to do it because it's not their vision.
Right.
It's our vision.
So we have to find out, about who they are, where they're trying to go, and take the vision that we have and help them connect with it so it benefits them.
Yes.
So we have to connect with their heart and their passion. We'll talk a little bit about that. So the first thing is we have to know ourselves, our own heart, and we have to check our motives, don't we? If I want you to join my team to help me achieve my goals or my dreams or objectives, and I don't think about what you're trying to achieve, I'll eventually get frustrated and begin to try to manipulate you on it. So we have to ask ourselves from the beginning, why do I want somebody on my team? Why do I want to connect with this person? What's the second thing we need to know?
We need to know our strengths, our weakness, and our purpose. I mean, if we don't have those things down, if we aren't playing to our strengths, and if we're not working towards purpose and watching out for our weaknesses, we're going to be inconsistent.
Yeah.
And people don't want to follow someone that's inconsistent.
That's true. Have you ever had a leader, a manager, boss, or somebody who really didn't understand why the organization was there? They didn't have a real clear picture of the vision statement and the mission statement for the company, and then they try to get you to buy into a new idea or a plan. Have you ever had someone like that?
Yeah, and it's what happens is it'll go a few days or a few weeks, maybe even months, in a direction, and you'll think you're building something, and all of a sudden they change the direction, or they decide that that wasn't as important as they thought, and all that work that you've done is for naught.
Yeah, so that's frustrating for everybody, isn't it?
Yes.
So everybody wants to know that what they're going to be doing has a meaning, that it adds value.
Well, even in high school, they say we're not going to use this math when we're adults. Why do we have to do it?
Yeah.
So
you don't really buy into doing the math, do you?
right?
Yeah. So you don't see a reason why. The third thing is know your passion areas, and if I know what I'm passionate about, I can automatically go back to the law of magnetism, know that I'm probably going to attract those kind of people into my life, aren't I?
Yeah.
So if I know what I'm passionate about and I can clearly articulate what I want to do with my life, then I can share and cast that vision for other people and connect with their hearts too, because if they're passionate about making a change. I mean, take for instance, if I want to help underprivileged children receive a better education, if I'm truly passionate about that, people who are passionate about that too will come alongside me if I can cast a clear vision because I can connect with their heart. That's
And
their
another
passion
side
too.
of knowing your passions is if you don't acknowledge some of your passions, you may be bringing someone along that, or attracting someone that you don't really expect and maybe not helpful to your
Yeah,
vision.
yeah, that's true. Very true. Never thought about that. All right, and this is something too. I think as a leader, as an influencer, we have to be a tour guide and not a travel agent. Now, I
Yeah.
want you to think about the two different roles. A tour guide. What does a tour guide do, Bill?
Tour guide explains the things and it actually reaches down into what is at the destination and helps show it to the client.
Now,
And
why? How can that tour guide be able to do that?
they know about it.
Because
It's
they've been
they're
there,
passionate about it. They've been there,
right? That's
and
that's where I'm trying
it's
to go. It's
yeah.
a tour guide has been on the trip. They
It's
know
been
the ins and outs, and they know what's exciting, what to avoid. And so we're trying to help someone with their life and guide them through the organization's vision. We have to have been there, don't we?
yeah.
So if we haven't been, we don't have a whole lot of credibility. We're more like the travel agent. We'll say, well, you probably should do this and you probably should do that. And we don't take and go along with them. And so we need to be more like a tour guide and take people on the journey with us. So we need to go first and we need to show the way.
Yeah.
A leader knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way, don't they? All right, now let's talk about leading others to it. We've talked about learning it. We've talked about how to live it out. And this is also still living it out and also leading in these principles here. So the first thing is we need to go where they are. We need to get in their world before attempting to get them to join us in ours. How many times do we try to get people to understand us and our vision and hope to goodness that somebody buys into that? That's how we usually start, don't we? But how can we do that differently, Bill?
We've got to meet people where they're at, and sometimes where people at, they're not going to make decisions that we see as wise decisions because they're somewhere else.
Yeah.
And we've got to get there and make sure that we understand where they're at so we'll know why they're because if we know where they're at and we meet them there, we'll understand what their next decision is likely to be.
All right.
You know,
Let's bring this down into practical terms, and let's say you're a parent and you're having a hard time connecting with your kids.
yeah.
And typically what we do is we try to get our kids into our world. Well, you should do this because I did this and this. We just kind of try to tell them what to do sometimes without really finding out where they're at. Their world is different than it
It
was
is.
when we were growing up. And we can sit and say, well, it's like that for every generation. But it is like that for every generation. The world's changing. People are changing. So I really have to take time and effort to listen to their heart, listen to what they're saying, get connected in their world without intruding into the world. But when they can trust me, they'll allow me into the world. And so it takes work, it takes effort to connect. It's kind of like I like the illustration of going to a train yard, and you think about rail cars that are loaded up with coal or products, and they're sitting there waiting to get to their destination. Well, the only way they can get to their destination is when the locomotive comes up and connects and hooks up. Now, the locomotive is where the power's at. The locomotive has to go up in front of the cars, back up and connect to those rail cars before that rail car can get to its destination. Now, when we think about people, every person we meet has potential. They have skills, talents, abilities, passions. Sometimes it's untapped. It's just like that product sitting in that rail car. It hasn't got to where it could be
Yeah.
processed and used. But if we can get that rail car or that person to where the opportunity is at, then we can get full use out of their potential. Now that means that as a locomotive, as a leader, we got to sometimes get out in front of them a little bit. We got to back up and get into their world, and we got to connect to them, and then we all move forward together. But until we make that effort as the leader, it's not going to happen. The locomotive doesn't go up to the railroad tracks and wait on the rail cars to come up and connect to it.
Right.
It has to do the work of backing it up. So when we think about connecting with others, we have to think about that way. It doesn't work any other way. They're not going to come and chase us down and try to get into our world most of the time, are they? Now,
No.
they might do it as little children, and that's a great time to nurture that. They might do it as a brand new employee or a brand new recruit. They may chase after us because they need some affirmation. They need some direction, and those are great opportunities to find out about them, what their heart and passion is. Now, the second thing, Bill, tell us a little bit about that.
Communicating with openness and sincerity, and to be vulnerable when necessary to let them know your weaknesses and share some of your past failures. And that's how you develop credibility with people. You're connecting with them because they see that you're human.
Yeah.
They see that you want to be a person right there with them. You're not going to be the one that stands on the or wants to be on the podium and apart from everyone.
Well, Bill, if you're perfect and you're my leader, that's a little bit
That's
intimidating.
intimidating.
That's intimidating, isn't it? And then after a while, when I'm with you, I'll see that you're not perfect. And if you don't admit that you're not perfect, that's a trust issue, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yes.
kind of like, so when we become vulnerable and we let people know, hey, I've got problems, I've got my own struggles, but as a team, we can work together as long as we're honest. And that's what builds team trust. I can trust that you can be at work at 8 o'clock every day, but I can trust you to do certain tasks, but I can't trust you with my heart if you can't show me your heart.
Right.
So you got to be vulnerable. You got to be real. All right. The third thing is focus on them and not on ourselves. And as a young leader, this is so hard to do. We want everybody to know that we're capable, that we can do this thing, that we're in charge, and we're just gonna tear the whole world out. But we have to really focus on the people on our team, don't we? And if we can do that from the get-go, uh, and like Stephen Covey says, he said, seek to understand before seeking to be understood. And that goes a long way in building relationships and connecting with others. Because most people want to talk about themselves. Everybody does. But it takes someone who's aware of that concept and allow other people to share things about themselves, so they begin to trust us and lean on us. All right. So what's the fourth thing, Bill?
Know the ones you're trying to connect with and what are their aspirations, struggles, and passions. And if you really want to know someone and you really want to connect with someone, you find out what they enjoy and you make that your favorite thing.
Yeah.
And
And this is so powerful. But folks at home who are watching this, I want you to ask yourself this question right now. The people that's closest to you in your family, in your church that you work with at your church or in your civic group, in your workplace, any place where you're working with other people, do you really know what they're passionate about? Do you know what they really dream and hope to achieve? Do you know what their top three strengths are? If we don't know those about people, we're never going to be able to connect with them. So we have to do some homework on that. So,
yeah,
and especially as a parent, I ask you this: we may have an inkling of what our children want or what they're trying to achieve, but we don't sit down and just really listen to them and watch them. We're not really going to know how to provide them the tools or resources and the things they're going to need to achieve those dreams, are we?
right.
What about the fifth thing here, Bill?
You show your faith and confidence in them before they succeed. And in the book, John Maxwell talked about Douglas MacArthur doing that in World War One. He actually had a major that was going to lead a charge, and he told the major that if he led, the men would follow. And before he left, he pinned his Distinguished Service Cross on him in advance. So, and the attack was successful. But he actually gave his faith and his confidence in that major before the battle occurred.
It's real easy to show faith in people after they've achieved something.
Yes.
And we can look and say, I knew you could do it. I knew you could do it. But if we don't do that beforehand, sometimes we're leaving something on the table that that maybe somebody really, really needs.
Mm-hmm.
And most folks want people to believe in them and affirm them. But I remember times that people would say to me, Dave, I believe you can do it. I know you can do it. Man, I would break my neck trying to live up to that because I didn't want to let them down. I didn't want to let myself down, and I didn't want to let them down because they had enough gumption to tell me that they believed in me.
And you had enough trust in them to know that they were telling you the truth.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a big thing to have faith in people before they succeed. That's what faith is. It's the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. So we see it in our minds out that they accomplish it, and we share that with them, and we build them up, and we have faith in them before they succeed. So remember that important key. The next is to offer direction and hope, and be honest, and don't exaggerate reality, but show them the way of success. We can tell them it's going to be okay when maybe it's not going to be okay. We have to be honest and say, you know what, it is tough. We got to struggle here, but we can find a way and we can accomplish our goals and we can make it better. So, but we have to be honest with them. We can't promise them pie in the sky when pie in the sky might not be our reality. But we can show them a way forward. And that's what we're expected to do as an influencer
Sometimes
and
it
a
gets
connector.
worse before it gets better.
Sometimes it does, but
Yeah.
if we do it together, we'll get through it and we connect that way. So if I tell somebody it's going to be great all the time and it's not great, I'm going to lose credibility
Yes.
and they're not going to be able to connect in the future. And next is be the message you're communicating. Bill, what do you think about that statement? Be the message.
When you want someone to, when you're trying to lead someone, you have to model that, and you have to be that change. You have to be that. You have to be that action.
Yeah.
And other people will see that action, and they will be willing to join you. Then they're not wanting to go out there alone because you told them to go out there. They're wanting to go out there to follow you.
Yeah, they're like you said before. They buy into us before they buy into the vision, don't they?
They do.
Nobody's going to just jump in because it's a great vision unless they really trust and believe in that leader,
or it's their vision,
or it's their vision. So it's so true that to remember that we are the message that we're communicating. If we're not, we've got some character issues.
Communicating something else,
or communicating something else. Exactly right. So don't wait for others to come to you for the message. Be among them and live it out. And that's the key. If you're really passionate about something, grow in it yourself, and admit that we got some weaknesses and some struggles in it. Just be honest, and honest people with struggles will come alongside of us, and we can connect with them. So set the example and keep a positive attitude always. Now, before we log off here, I want to check and see if we've got any messages from anybody on the Facebook or YouTube channel. Evan, do we have any messages we need to answer?
Don't see any. Let me refresh and check. I don't see any.
Well, folks, we're going to change things up a little bit next week. We keep tweaking and improving this process. Hopefully, we're improving it. But next week, hopefully, we're going to be live on Facebook rather than going through YouTube. YouTube's a great tool, and we'll keep that channel open and record there too. But I like to get to Facebook Live because people can join us, ask questions, and join us live, and that's our goal. Well, Bill, do you have any other words of wisdom before we share the action plan on how to really get started to be a connector?
I'm good here.
Good here. All right. So let's think about an action plan. I don't really like to share any kind of teaching or things that I've learned without some system to put it into play immediately. And I like what you said one time. You remember what you said about putting something into practice? It was one of your famous wise quotes.
5-second rule?
Well, that was one of them. Tell us about the 5-second rule.
5-second rule is if you don't do something in 5 seconds, you'll talk yourself out of it.
Yeah. Put it into play. So stop what you're doing, grab you a pencil, and write these things down. And you can get this PowerPoint and come back to these points on my website. It's giantslayerconsultants.com, and it's on my free resource page. And you're welcome to go on there. We've got the PowerPoints for most of these lessons we've done so far, and I want to share those with you. I want you to have them. I want you to take them and share them with your team, whether you share them openly or you use them as a training tool. Grab those things, pull them down, and begin to share them with your team and grow yourself and grow your team. So that's the first thing. Write down giantslayerconsultants.com and go to the free resource page and download these free PowerPoint presentations. But the first thing is about being a connector is connect with yourself. Ask yourself this: do you really know yourself? Do you know what your top 3 strengths are? Do you know what your top 2 or 3 weaknesses are? Do you know what you're truly passionate about? Do you have a clear vision for your life? Could you sit down and write a mission statement about what you're going to do and how you're going to do it with your life for the next 5, 10, 20 years? Can you truly say that you're living a life that if you had to do your own eulogy, it'd be favorable? It'd be exactly what you want people to say about you. And if you're not living that way, you've got to gain some clarity. You've got to connect with yourself. So the first step is connect with yourself, know your self. So I suggest you take a personality test. You take a strength finder test. Identify your top 4 or 5 core values. What's really important to you? What you want to accomplish with your life. What do you want to look like, and be doing 5, 10, 15 years down the road? If you can't do that, we're never going to be able to help other people do it for themselves. and people are looking for people to help them find their
Yep.
way. So connect with yourself first. Write down the good and the bad, and know, and then that's where that's the starting point for connecting with others. Bill, what's the second thing we
Walk
do?
slowly through the crowd. And I really love this concept. It's, if you got to walk 100 yards and there's 50 people in between here and where you're going to be, stop and speak to every one of them.
Yeah.
Just you're not concerned about getting to the end of that 100 yards. You're concerned about the connections you make between here and there.
Yeah. If you're a manager or a director of some kind, and you walk through the crowd, we don't want to walk through the clouds yet, but we're going to walk through the crowd. Just like Bill said, take your time and speak to everyone, but keep your eyes and your ears open. Listen for their heart.
Yeah,
Don't be pointing out things.
when I say speak to them, the biggest part of that speaking is going to be listening to their reply.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the kind of the slowly part, is stopping and waiting for them to reply and hearing that reply.
We can go through, and a lot of times as a leader, our mindset is to find problems and fix them. So a lot of times we're going through picking out problems, and our folks that are around us know that we're doing that.
Yeah.
And so to really change that, we have to connect with the people first. They most of the time know those problems there.
Yeah.
But we connect with their heart, find out what's important to them, ask them what they need. And most of the time we can provide them tools and resources to fix those problems. They'll take care of themselves. They really want to connect with us to connect with their heart. The third thing is engage them by asking meaningful questions. That's what we just talked about things that matter to them and the organization.
Yeah.
A lot of times we can get caught up in chit chat. We really don't talk about the important things. And, as a leader, we have to really communicate clarity about what we're here for. If you're in the retail business, what are you here for? We're here to take care of our customers. If we're in the church business, we're here to take care of equipping and building people for the kingdom of God, aren't we? So what are we about? So we have to gear our questions about where are they at, where their heart is in that, and how we can help them achieve and become better in that. What's the next thing, Bill?
Improve your communication skills, and start by being a better listener. And that means you have to listen to truly understand people.
Yeah.
You talked earlier about people know that there are problems. Well, the thing is, if there are 10 people on the team, those 10 people together are going to be more intelligent than the leader by himself. So if the leader is listening to those things that the team has to say, then he will be able to solve more of those problems more readily.
Yeah, exactly. And finally, we just talked a little bit about this too, is practice having faith in people.
Yeah.
Some people naturally have faith in other people. They believe in them, and sometimes they get let down a lot, because people who choose to have faith in people, sometimes we get let down a lot, and sometimes we can get burned. But we got to practice having faith in people and helping them believe in themselves before they succeed. Excuse me. So learn to have faith in them before they succeed, coach and lift them up when they fail, and encourage them to get back up.
Okay.
That's what you do. All right. Well, I hope that we've added some value to you this week. I hope we've given you some tools to help you be a better connector. Excuse me for this cold and head cold we've got going on, but hopefully next week we'll be better shape.
Hopefully they will get well.
Yeah. So next week we're going to talk about the law of the inner circle, about the people closest to us in our lives and how important that is. So tune in next week at 12 noon. We'll be on Facebook Live. Thank you. Have a great week.
Thank you.